Do you have to use a bone-in primal when you're dry aging? There are some people that believe when you're dry aging beef, you can only work with bone-in primals. For me, I don't think there are any rules when it comes to dry aging beef, apart from do it safely, right? As long as you're following safety procedures, you can kind of do whatever you want. What's more important, in my opinion, would be aging for the end product. So if I am doing a relatively short length of dry age and my goal is to cut boneless steaks, it's absolutely fine to dry age a boneless primal. If I want to go farther on the dry aging, if I want to do 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, in that scenario, I would say, yeah, we should work with a bone-in primal. One of the main things that happens during dry aging is going to be moisture loss. So when you allow a primal to basically sit in your dry aging cooler exposed to the air, moisture is going to slowly evaporate from the muscle itself. Muscles are made mostly of water. So over time, they will lose that. If you're dealing with a bone-in primal, for example, something like this is the tail end of a short loin. You've got a very good protective covering here on the bottom. This is bone. This side right here, you're gonna prevent any moisture from escaping through that side because of the bone. You've got a pretty good protective covering here with the fat covering. So again, it's gonna slow down the rate of moisture loss. When you're working with something like a boneless New York, it doesn't have as much protective covering, and so you're actually gonna be losing moisture from 360 degrees all around throughout the entire process. So you'll lose moisture at a faster rate when you're working with a boneless primal. If you look at it from a trim loss perspective, again, I think it really matters what your end steak is. If my goal is to cut boneless New York steaks at like a 20-day dry age point, I would age a boneless New York. If I did the same thing with a bone-in New York, I would have to remove the bones after the aging process in order to cut my boneless steaks. The amount of weight that I would lose when I take those bones off is actually more weight than I would incur from simply trimming the age off the exterior of the New York. So it's very much dependent on what you're trying to do. For the sake of science, though, we decided to test the limits, and this primal right here, we dry aged for just shy of 700 days. So we did a full 23 months on this baby, and you can see, I mean, it is basically a fossil at this point. In terms of how much moisture it's lost, like, it is rock hard right now. So typically on a boneless primal, you would just cut through it with a knife. I'm gonna see if I can do that, but I don't know if I can, but we'll try it. All right, I got an inch through. No, I don't think, I mean, oh my God. Oh my God. It's like plywood. This is insane. Holy shit. So that's what you get after about 700 days of dry aging a boneless primal. In this instance, I would say absolutely you should not take a boneless primal this far. There's nothing viable in this meat. It's completely desiccated. When we did the 750-day rib, I was surprised at how much meat was actually good left inside that had been protected by all the fat and the bone. This guy, because he didn't have that much protective covering in the same environment for about the same period of time, totally different result. While the moisture loss that happens during dry aging plays a very important role in kind of the development of that dry aged flavor, this would kind of be your example of, yeah, you can take it too far. 700 days on a boneless primal, you have lost too much moisture. You will not get a viable steak out of this. Muscles are like 70% water, and so actually kind of interesting. I mean, you can see at the beginning, the diameter of that muscle was probably about there. So you've shrunk over, I mean, like more than half in size just from slow moisture evaporation. So for us at Flannery Beef, we really like the 30-day mark. I think that that's kind of the perfect amount of age to get a good balance between the flavor development from the moisture loss and, in our environment, kind of the interesting nutty undertones that the mold will bring to the table.